Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to Lesson 5.1.1 on spelling seventh chords. So, in Unit 4, we focused our attention on triads, which have 1, 2, 3 different notes. That's why they're called triads. So, we're going to add a fourth note now, which you might expect will be called a tetrad. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Instead, we call them a seventh chord, because the distance between the root and that fourth note is a seventh. So that's where the name comes from. So for the purposes of this unit, the seventh chord is a chord that has exactly 4 different pitches that are separated by major and or minor thirds. If you get into jazz, there are some sonorities that are classified as seventh chords that have some augmented or diminished thirds in there. Like that could be a jazz chord that has a augmented third up at the top, but we're not going to consider them for the purposes of this unit. But here are some examples of seventh chords. So here we have the chord I've been playing. So root, third, fifth, and seventh, all separated by thirds. Great. Here's another example. I'm sorry. Which is literally the same letter names, it's just spaced out in open position. So if you bring it back down in closed position, you get the same thing as A. Here we have a seventh chord in inversion. If you bring the C down an octave, it's the A chord again. That is not a seventh chord. It has 4 different notes, but the distance between C and F is not a third, it's a fourth. So that doesn't count. E, not a seventh chord, because that's a seventh chord, but then when you add the fifth pitch, not a seventh chord anymore, because it has more than 4. This last one is not usually a seventh chord, because it has that diminished third up at the top. Again, there might be a jazz context that would say, yeah, that's hip. We're not going to worry about it for the purposes of this unit. If you do want to learn more about jazz harmonies, there may or may not be a unit about that by the time you watch this video, but one is in the works. So in terms of spelling seventh chords, if you ignore this last column, you just have the triads: ACE, BDF, CEG, DFA, EGB, FAC, GBD. So now we just add that last letter onto them. So I say A, you say ACEG. I say B, you say BDFA. Make flashcards. You just got to memorize these. You just got to know these. If you don't, your life will get difficult very soon. And that's them written out so you can hear. Beautiful. So root, third, and fifth work the same way. The extra note is a seventh because it's a seventh above the root. We went over that. That's fine. And then down here, there's an overview of the different types of seventh chords. There are 7 of them. We're going to focus on the 5 most common types here in more detail, but I would just want to show you because they exist. So this first one isn't a seventh chord. It's a triad in disguise. You have C to E to G sharp, so that's an augmented triad. If you put another major third on top of that, it's B sharp, which is the same as C. It's actually just an augmented triad in disguise. That's not a seventh chord. Cross that out. I literally have a pencil. That doesn't have a tip. There, gone. Not a seventh chord. Here we have major third, major third. So we're starting with an augmented, and then we put a minor third on top. Now, this is a legitimate seventh chord. It's called either an augmented seventh or a major seventh sharp 5. Doesn't happen that often, so we're not really gonna worry about it. Next one is a major 7. So you start with a major triad, major third, minor third, and put a major third on top of that. Wow, that's a typo. So major third, minor third, major third. I gotta fix that. This is a common one. We'll be looking at that. Start with the same thing, major third, minor third, and then another minor third. That's going to give you a dominant 7. That's super common. This is the most common, but extra check marks. Start with a minor triad, minor third, major third. Stick another major third on top. You get a minor major 7, which is a really hip sound, but doesn't actually appear that often in the music we're going to look at. And here we have a minor 7th and put a minor third on top. That's a minor 7. That's common. Here you start with a diminished chord, minor third, and then put a major third on top. We call that half diminished. If you're in jazz world, you call it a minor 7, flat 5. If you're in classical world, it's a half diminished 7th, and the symbol is very tiny there. It's a circle with a slash through it. And then lastly, you have your diminished 7th with all minor thirds. Okay, this is pretty common, and this is pretty common as well. So that is what is going on here. So this is just FYI. What I'm concerned about you being able to do is just knowing these 7th chord spellings. So that's what you should focus on, and I will see you next time.